Yeah.
Like from where to where?
I take it from Figueroa because I work downtown. And then I also take it from Figueroa to First and Hill.
All around, do you like the Dash?
Yes. It's convenient to get from place to place in a short matter of time.
And the electrification of the buses is really about putting our riders first. It's about having our vehicles spend less time out for maintenance. It's about delivering the service even more cost effectively so that we can expand it and grow it.
At a news conference in downtown, LA Department of Transportation General Manager Salita Reynolds says all 4 buses manufactured by the company BYD in Lancaster will save the city $16,000 a year in gas and maintenance costs. In downtown LA, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Now, full recharging takes about 3 hours. The buses will charge overnight at LADOT's maintenance yard in South LA. And more of these all-electric buses are expected in other communities. Stay tuned. While heading over to LAX, Los Angeles World Airports continues to open more gateways when it comes to traveling. Rasha Goel has more on the historic opening of a new flight.
Yana, I'm at LAX, and it's an exciting day where passengers and officials are celebrating the inaugural flight departing from LAX into Havana, Cuba. Now, this is a big deal because this is the first commercial flight to be heading out from Los Angeles into Cuba. Anna Maricause was among the passengers taking the inaugural flight. It was an ecstatic moment for her to see this connectivity happening between the two cities.
This is a really big step in building positive relationships between two groups of people that are part of me and that I love dearly, and we've been separated for way too long.
The daily nonstop flight to Cuba is also a chance to explore new opportunities.
Cuba represents a door of opportunity for Alaska Airlines and LAX in an untapped market that has high potential for success.
This new route is a reflection of the aviation industry meeting the growing demand in the U.S. to establish stronger ties and commerce with Cuba beyond today's family visits and educational and cultural exchange.
Now the process is much easier. Nearly anyone can travel to Cuba.
There had been for a number of years special charter service, but honestly, because there was no scheduled air service prior to this, it was very difficult to get to Cuba.
We are very, very emotional about this trip.
It's a big chance to go somewhere new, somewhere different. I want to go there before Cuba becomes something like Disneyland.
Officials estimate that Cuba flights from Los Angeles could serve an estimated 190,000 passengers per year, serving a U.S. city with one of the largest Cuban-American populations outside of Florida. From LAX, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Now, this isn't the first time Alaska Airlines has flown to Cuba. In the early 1970s, Alaska also flew U.S. Military Airlift Command charter flights to the base at Guantanamo Bay. Well, if you had to choose between providing new homes to LA families or keeping iconic architecture intact, what would you do? Well, that's the debate going on right now between residents and developers in Echo Park. Rasha Goel explains.
These historic bungalows have become a topic of discussion as developers try to replace the Spanish Revival-style dwellings at 1456 Echo Park Avenue with new 3-story homes. Residents are fighting to save 7 pre-World War II bungalows from demolition.
I think the bungalows are a rich piece of LA history, and I think as we move forward with development in the neighborhood, it's important to make sure that that's not at the cost of neighborhood character.
The bungalows are being considered for cultural historic monument status after a recent unanimous vote by the Los Angeles Cultural Heritage Commission.
I think we are very interested in turning our attention to some of these multifamily historic preservation issues, neighborhood conservation of historic multifamily forms.
The owner, Bixel House LLC, has filed an application with the City Planning Department to replace the 7 bungalows with 12 townhouses under the Small Lot Development Ordinance, which allows for more dense development of single-family homes.
They did review all the properties 2 years ago, it was not on the historical register, so we did everything right in trying to do something that would work and be really nice for the community. That being said, under the current circumstances, we will do everything that we can to try to work with the city and come up with something that works.
Some residents say their life seems like a roller coaster right now.
We don't know if this is getting demoed in March. We don't know if it's getting demoed in November. We don't know if the petitions that the city has filed is going to halt the demolition. And so to move is problematic, and to stay is problematic.
A dilemma that both the residents and owner will hopefully have answers to soon. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Council District 13 is also introducing several motions to the City Council to address inconsistent zoning on Echo Park Avenue, and is also directing staff to report on preservation recommendations to save the bungalows. While the fate of one historic property remains in the air, another iconic LA home has secured its place in the record books as it lands on the National Registry of Historic Places. A father and son team get most of the credit, but so does Mother Nature. Gil Reyes has more from Silver Lake. Gil.
Well, Yana, what's long been considered to be a modernist masterpiece here in the city of Los Angeles is now a national treasure officially. We are talking about the Vdl Research House located here at 2300 Silver Lake Boulevard. Today we talked to one of the architects, Dion Neutra, about this special recognition and also about what makes this house so special.
The home, built in 1932, is an early example of mid-century California design, still popular today. And inside, check out the Spanish 17th century style courtyard with trees wrapped around it, architecture and nature as one.
This project is like a time capsule of, our work, starting from the early 30s when my father was just getting started.
Famed architect Dion Neutra talking about his dad, the late Richard Neutra, who designed the house. In 1963, fire destroyed it. Father and son teamed up to rebuild, and now, decades later, their Vdl Research House is named a National Historic Landmark.
Well, I'm, of course, extremely honored and excited about this. Getting the National Landmark designation is not an easy step.
Mirrors, glass doors, and reflective pools blended with the shimmer of the nearby Silver Lake Reservoir when it was filled to make the property feel organic, almost like it's breathing. But Dion Neutra says recent changes, like the draining of the lake, also trees and a light pole placed in front of the house, have reduced its appeal and should be removed.
This is now a landmark building of the United States of America. We should be expressing the design intent of the designers when we show it off to the public.
And there's nothing like being here. Sure, photos and videos are great, but you really have to visit to experience how sunlight, acoustics, and nature work like a symphony to create a masterpiece. In Silver Lake, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The VDL Research House is open for tours on Saturdays. Log on to neutra-vdl.org for details. Well, speaking of history, imagine a black woman in the segregation era beating the odds to help get the first astronaut in space, or becoming the first supervisor for IBM at NASA, or its first African-American female engineer. These stories are true, and now they come alive in the movie Hidden Figures. Among the audience's 10,000 LA girls from low-income neighborhoods. Anna Marcos has more.
You have identification number?
NASA, sir.
NASA.
So starts the unusual but true story of 3 African-American women who worked for NASA in the 60s and helped put the first astronaut into outer space. It's a story of empowerment, of firsts, and of rising above all odds, told by African-American women, a point of view we don't often see in our history books. But now it's being told in the movie Hidden Figures, and 10,000 girls of color in South LA are getting to see the film at a free screening at USC.
We're going to go watch Hidden Figures, which is a girl power, so as you see, it's many females and girls.
I think it's really great because I think that we're going to get really inspired in this movie.
These students are part of the Girls Build LA program and the LA Promise Fund. groups which give female middle and high school students a leg up in STEM careers, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math.
In the STEM fields, only 25% of the workforce is female, with about 1 in 3% being Latina and Black. And so we really need to make certain that we increase the number of females and females of color.
And if anything can serve as inspiration, this movie, starring Taraji Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe, can. It's partly the math done by Katherine Goebel-Johnson, the character played by Taraji Henson, that gets astronaut John Glenn into space and safely back to Earth.
I like her numbers.
Yet, these contributions appeared nowhere in the story of NASA until now.
I would like to be a lawyer.
And hopefully, the story will help these young women beat any obstacles in their paths to becoming whatever they dream of becoming. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The event was hosted in partnership with the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics and African Americans and USC. Well, as you just saw, anyone can become a NASA engineer or even the next Bill Gates. But sometimes a little help can go a long way. That's why the City of LA recently sponsored a hackathon, inviting kids from disadvantaged areas to consider careers in computers. Gil Reyes shows us.
Yeah, I really love coding and being creative and, building apps and websites, helping other people.
Eleanor Trunov is among 300 young people gathered in groups to learn the basics of computer coding and app development. Their teachers today are tech industry professionals from companies like Snapchat and Google. The goal for these kids?
Hopefully get a good job in the future in technology, but most importantly, learn how to solve problems in their communities with technology.
Today's exercise is creating apps to help solve problems on campus, like littering, smoking, and school fights. Welcome to the Teens Exploring Technology, Hustle, and Code Hackathon. The mayor's office holds the event in South Los Angeles for a reason.
Certain areas of Los Angeles, such as South LA, Watts, Boyle Heights, Pacoima, and other areas where you don't have traditional technology company clusters. A lot of those clusters now are in downtown Los Angeles, Hollywood, and the West Side. And what we're really trying to do is make sure that the tech economy is spread all throughout the city, in every different area of the city.
Latinos and African Americans are underrepresented in technology fields. This hackathon aims to attract more of them to the industry. Student Edward Hernandez wants to create a video game one day.
But that game will secretly teach kids what to do in life, like life choices.
I think coding is important because it's the next language of the universe, pretty much. You can create anything, and so it's empowering for kids to know how to use these skills to create whatever they want for the future.
Solving problems, improving communities, and making tomorrow a better place. In South Los Angeles, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
More opportunities for teen techies are available. Log on to exploringtech.org for more info. Well, floats, bands, equestrian, and dance groups were all part of the grand celebration to honor the legacy of one civil rights leader. Rasha Goel has more on an event that drew a huge crowd.
Thousands of Angelenos of all ages lined up to celebrate the 32nd annual Kingdom Day Parade in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. near Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Western Avenue. This year's theme, Now More Than Ever, We All Must Work Together, was something many attendees said was appropriate.
Really, given recent events, MLK Day is kind of a opportunity to celebrate a black historical figure and to celebrate a unity of a community.
In 1983, legislation was signed to create Martin Luther King Jr. Day, making it a federal holiday. Then, in 1994, Congress designated the holiday as a National Day of Service.
Today is a celebration of our ability to come together and overcome hate, to overcome division, and to overcome inequity. Today we mark a point in history, but also we look at it as a guide to the future.
The parade was followed by a festival at Crenshaw Boulevard and Verdon Avenue, continuing the celebration of the dream Martin Luther King Jr. still inspires today.
We're celebrating Martin Luther King with the people in Los Angeles.
According to officials, the event is the nation's largest and oldest Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The event is put on by the Congress of Racial Equality of California. Well, if your child goes to school in North Hollywood, he or she now has a new, safer way to get there after a tragic accident inspires action. Gil Reyes shows us.
Third graders from Bellingham Elementary School in North Hollywood test out their new neighborhood sidewalk on the way to class.
Because it's not safe to walk on the street because a car can crash a little kid.
And that's what happened here on Laurel Canyon and Archwood Street 6 years ago. A car ran over and killed 12-year-old Emily Ailman as she crossed the street. The accident also left her friend, another young girl, permanently disabled. The community urged the city to build the 1,700-foot sidewalk where a dirt path used to be. Bellingham's school principal says thanks.
It's incredibly important. If you see the other side of the street where there's just a dirt path, the students were actually walking through dirt or walking directly in the street to get to school, which was extremely dangerous for them.
North Hollywood Councilman Paul Krikorian spearheaded the effort through the Safe Routes to School program, funded by city, state, and federal governments. And the sidewalk isn't just for kids.
It's bad enough if you're a third grader, but it's really bad if you're a senior, or if you're somebody with a disability, or you're somebody else who has a mobility challenge and walking on essentially a trail.
I think that they're safer now.
In North Hollywood, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The sidewalk also has 14 new access ramps for people using wheelchairs and strollers. Also, 37 new drought-tolerant trees. While a sea of demonstrators take to the streets in downtown LA to show solidarity for women's rights. A street in downtown's Fashion District is about to get a major makeover and celebrating the heroes of the Los Angeles Fire Department for their commitment to helping others. All these stories in City Beat. Observers said Women's March Los Angeles, which drew a massive crowd that filled downtown streets around Pershing Square, was the city's largest demonstration in nearly a decade. A massive crowd marched to City Hall in solidarity with the Women's March on Washington and similar events that were held in cities nationwide. The size of the crowd seemed to eclipse even the expectations of organizers, who estimated at one point that as many as 750,000 people showed up. Organizers stressed that the event was a nonpartisan and not a protest, but a celebration of human rights. The mission statement for the march read in part, "We stand together in solidarity for the protection of our rights, our safety, our health, and our families, recognizing that our vibrant and diverse communities are the strength of our country." City Councilmember Jose Huizar recently joined with other community groups for a groundbreaking on a much-needed $1.7 million streetscape improvement project on Los Angeles Street in downtown's Fashion District. With funding from Metro, the upgrade is part of Councilmember Huizar's Downtown LA Forward initiative. The plan and design was a collaboration among the Bureau of Street Services, the Board of Public Works, the Fashion District BID, and Councilmember Huizar's office. The improvements will be made on Los Angeles Street between 7th Street and Olympic Boulevard. A group of Los Angeles firefighters were honored at City Hall for volunteering their time last year to fight massive fires that swept through Israel. LA City firefighters worked hand in hand with Israeli first responders battling blazes in Israel last November.
Any chance we get to recognize the bravery and the heroism of our firefighters, we take that opportunity.
It was all worth it. This is all volunteer for us. Basically, the outcome was that we could participate in being with the firefighters and helping the people of Israel.
Well, it's a different spin on the musical Aladdin. Gil Reyes takes us behind the scenes of a bilingual edition of the Disney classic.
Mia, 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 mia.
We are at rehearsals for a new version of Aladdin, co-presented by the Office of LA City Council District 1.
In this town of Agrabah, everyone spoke Spanish and English. They were bilingual.
When Jafar, the bad guy, got the hold of the lamp, he made a wish to divide the community so he could have more power. So everyone in the palace speaks only Spanish, everyone in the pueblo only speaks English. So Jasmine and Aladdin cannot communicate.
Can the pair live happily ever after? You'll have to watch and find out in this dual language adaptation of Disney's Aladdin, now playing at Casa 0101 Theater in Boyle Heights. The musical premiered in Texas in 2009.
We presented it there at Far Texas at the high school, and we had over 1,000 people show up to that performance. It was really exciting, and it's so wonderful to see it now continuing on.
With LA-based players switching between English and Spanish throughout the show. Valeria Maldonado is one of the actresses cast as Princess Jasmine.
I have to sometimes remember that this is something new and that some people aren't used to changing languages. I think there's a big community here where we're all just used to doing this. So it feels really great to now bring it to an audience and see how they react.
For me, it's kind of been, just like a growing experience. Outside of here, I hardly speak any Spanish. So naturally, jumping into this process, it was kind of just like, okay. A whole new world será fantástico encontrar. Nadie que diga no, a dónde ir, aquellos que se aman.
The show continues through February 19th. In Boyle Heights, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
For tickets and showtimes, log on to casa0101.org. Well, celebrate Chinese culture during the New Year festival. Step into the land of wizards for a Harry Potter scavenger hunt. And if you love the movie Pitch Perfect, you won't want to miss this in this week's Things to Do. In celebrating over 100 years of tradition, the Chinese Chamber of Commerce of Los Angeles presents the 118th annual Golden Dragon Parade. With over thousands and thousands of individuals lining the parade route and thousands viewing the telecast each year, this colorful celebration along North Broadway in Chinatown has become the premier cultural event in the Southern California Asian American community. Since the mid-1980s, the Golden Dragon Parade has expanded to include almost 24 floats, multiple marching bands, government officials, various dignitaries, entertainers, local business leaders, and cultural groups. The parade theme emphasizes ethnic diversity, Chinese culture, and exposure to Chinese American businesses. The festival takes place Saturday, February 4th at 1 p.m. at 943 North Broadway. For more, visit lagoldendragonparade.com. Join Watson Adventures on a unique Harry Potter-themed scavenger hunt for kids 10 and up. Follow in the footsteps of young wizards on a field trip to the Getty Center in search of art that echoes characters, places, and enchanted objects in the famed Harry Potter books and movies. Keep your trusty wand handy as you track down a powerful sorceress, a Snape-like potions master, flying owls and dragons, Hagrid-like giants, centaurs, and unicorns like those you'd seen in the Forbidden Forest. This hunt is designed for kids and adults to do together. Go on an adventure on February 4th at the Getty Center. For more, visit watsonadventures.com. The Los Angeles Acapella Festival is a nonprofit music festival that gathers people from all over the world in an academic forum to celebrate, appreciate, and advance vocal music as an art form. The festival consists of educational workshops, a scholastic competition, and a professional showcase. The competition will feature top high school and collegiate groups going head-to-head in a 3-round performance format. Think Pitch Perfect. The festival is the perfect family event and an incredible weekend of live a cappella music. Visit la-af.com for details. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Graffiti removal? Psst. Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Don't worry, Patty. This isn't going to hurt me one bit. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Shapiro in beautiful Encino, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Sergeants, call the members and have the members report to the council chambers. Sergeants, please call the members and the report to the council chambers. I want to thank Mr. Bonner. Good morning, good morning. Can I have everybody take a seat? Shh. Shh. If everyone could please take a seat. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. The public is welcome. Today is a very important day, a very important celebration. So in order to, we can take a round of applause because it is a very important celebration. Mr. Herman, please sit down. I don't think this is the place that you want to stand up and clap with a Klan's mask on, okay? So I would highly recommend that you behave yourself to a certain degree today. It is a very special day, and we're not going to play games. And this meeting will not be disrupted. At this time, I'd like to recognize the member from the new 9th District to kick everything off, and that's Mr. Curran Price. Let's give Mr. Price a round of applause.
Good morning, Mr. President, and everyone. On behalf of President Wesson, my colleague Marquise Harris-Dawson, who's away on business, I want to welcome you to this very exciting presentation of African American History Month. Round of applause. This is a chance for us to acknowledge our heroes, to acknowledge the sacrifices that individuals have made to make the United States great. We remember the real-life heroes that we read about in the books, men and women of courage who did the impossible, who did the unthinkable, the unimaginable, to make the world better. Whether leading a movement for civil rights like Dr. Martin Luther King, or refusing to give up a seat on the segregated bus like Rosa Parks, are ongoing to write one of the most thoughtful, moving love poems of all time, Maya Angelou's Still I Rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from the past that rooted in pain, I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear the tide. Individuals with gifts and talents like the Hidden Figure legends who advanced America's space program. And I certainly would be remiss not to mention the first African-American mayor here in the city of Los Angeles, Tom Bradley, who would have turned 100 years young this December. These are but a few of the great examples from a long list of African-American greats who have achieved much and who have contributed greatly. Of course, there are many, many, many others who remain obscure and their narratives untold. The City of Angels salutes you. It gives me great pride this morning, and a little later we're going to be introducing a few other change makers in our community, modern-day individuals who are laying the foundation for a better tomorrow. Because as we know, each and every one of us has an obligation to fulfill America's promise, fighting against social injustices plaguing our communities, discover research that could revolutionize medicine, creating the next big invention that can improve lives. Yes, February is a time to celebrate the past, present, and future achievements. We always must keep our eyes on the future because we still have more chapters to write. That's not necessarily going to fall on your shoulders, or maybe even not mine, but certainly future generations. It's especially important that we look to our youth, something that I'm very attuned to because 1/3 of the citizens in the 9th District are under 18. Under 18. They are the future of Los Angeles, and they will need our guidance, our encouragement, and our enthusiasm to blaze new trails and to fulfill their God-given potential. But now it gives me great pleasure to introduce someone who has been reaching his potential for a long time, and we certainly appreciate it. He has been a mayor for all of us, hasn't he? Whether it's on issues of immigration or minimum wage or clearing the streets, Mayor Eric Garcetti has stood head and shoulders, and we appreciate his leadership. So at this time, join me in welcoming our mayor, the Honorable Eric Garcetti.
Let's give it up for Curran Price. Let's make some noise for our great council member of the 9th District who has time and time again represented not just his district but this entire city with his leadership on economic justice. I'm grateful for your friendship. Mr. President, I'm grateful for the invitation to be back in these chambers I spent so many good years in, and to each and every one of the council members and members of the public. Let me start by acknowledging Lorraine Bradley, who's the daughter of Tom Bradley, who is here with us on television. You can see her right here. For the work that she and the Bradley family have put forward and the legacy that we have. But it was my predecessor's 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 predecessor that started in 1950 the tradition of what was then a Negro History or Heritage Week. Tom Bradley made it into a month a couple decades later. But every year since 1950, this city has stood up not just to recognize the contributions of those residents of African descent, but the contributions in this country and this world of the African diaspora and indeed of African Americans. And as I said, we come not just to mark history, but I hope that today we come to make history. As we recognize those who have come before us, today we're presenting Lifetime Achievement Award to a legendary musician, a man whose voice has been the soundtrack to many romances, including my parents. My mom insisted I tell him it was when Misty at her wedding ceremony that she and my dad danced to. A man who's lent his talents to the fight for justice for all people, the great Mr. Johnny Mathis. We're also honoring a great leader in education, Michelle King, who is the superintendent of our school district. A brilliant legal mind, Judge Andre Barrot, who gave service to this city as an inspector general and as a United States attorney, and an outstanding leader in 21st century law enforcement and contribution to this town, Matt Johnson. These men and women represent the best of who we are. And this is a city in which the founding pobladores that came here in 1781, over 40 of them, more than 28 of them, had African blood in them. This is not new diversity. This didn't come just recently. As you see from our heroes, the Buffalo Soldiers that are here with us today, as you look at the history of what people have fought for in this town, Black thinkers, scientists, artists, and entrepreneurs whose perseverance, courage, and vision have unleashed American innovation for each one of us. And this would not be possible without our Authors Study Club. They were there at the beginning of this, and they are there every single year. We love you and thank you for all that you do to make us mark history. And I also want to thank Mike Davis, our great Public Works Commissioner, who every year helps bring together the talent and the lessons here. So let me just conclude before we give to the awarding of if we present the awards today, that here in Los Angeles, there is our ability to make history in this Heritage Month. So that the next, why do we invest, for instance, in South Los Angeles in the Silicon South initiative to bring coding and computer programming to girls and boys in South LA? It's because the next Mark Zuckerberg should be an African-American girl growing up in South Los Angeles. Why do we go to the airport to fight for the rights of those that are coming to our shores? Well, because our African brothers and sisters who are coming here as refugees are part of the next generation of African Americans who will make this town safe and free and contribute to who we are. That's why we march and that's why we speak out. Why do we do those things? To make sure that whether it is in our great commissioners that are here to make sure they represent the face of Los Angeles, whether it is the work that we're doing at Metro or our airport to not just have inclusion of contractors, where too few black entrepreneurs actually get the business that black taxpayers pay for at our airport and public transportation, but to make sure with African American leadership in both of those agencies, we can not just meet but surpass the goals of inclusion and reflectivity of the business that we do. That is what we are called to do, not just to celebrate, but to do the hard work of making sure that African American Heritage Month is a living legacy and an impulse for all of us to do more. So with that, I think it's time to toss it back to our great council member. We've got some introductions of the awardees. To toss it back to you now?
Yes, but not for that.
We're going to do the calendar unveiling. So thank you all so much. I know we have other electeds that are going to speak today, but I hope that folks don't just celebrate here today. Take that calendar of activities. Go someplace in L.A. Go to the great Northeast San Fernando Valley where an African-American population has lived and where Baptist churches and other churches have been out there standing up for people's rights throughout this city. Go to Leimert Park and see what's moving with the artist scene down there and protect black-owned businesses by shopping at them. Make sure that you go and you make those bridges between law enforcement and the community that we embody here. Do something this month. Don't just celebrate. Act. Thank you so much.
All right.
And Mr. Price, before you begin, there's a couple of people that I really want to acknowledge. We have LA's own, our own vocalist, Barbara Morrison, is with us today. Barbara belongs to us. And Grammy-winning artist, Dionne Warwick.
Yes.
Right in the front row. I say Dionne and they cut to Matt Johnson. Where's the cameraman? All right, Mr. Price, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a real honor for me now to introduce our city attorney. He certainly has been a strong proponent for liberty and justice for all. And his work knows no boundaries, and we're so proud of him. Honorable Mike Fuhrer.
Thank you very much, Curran. Before I refer to our honorees for a second, Lorraine does inspire me for a moment. Both Curran and Councilman Price and our mayor referred to Tom Bradley. My first job in politics was to be in charge of issues and research when Mayor Bradley sought to be the first African-American governor in the history of California. And I do want to say, when we think of Mayor Bradley in this building, we should remember one of the most powerful influences he had in our lives was to infuse his staff, his City Hall team, with the most diverse array of voices that this city had ever seen in City Hall, setting an example for what it really means to work shoulder to shoulder to achieve great things. Your dad made an indelible mark on me, and his leadership and his friendship will always be in my heart. So, Lorraine, very nice to see you here. So now for our honorees. I don't think Judge Barrot has made his way here yet. I think he is en route. Okay, fair enough. But I want to mention, though, that Judge Barrot and I have had a long relationship together. Oh, here he is, and here he walks in. Very good. Andre, your timing is impeccable. So what I wanted to say about Judge Barrot, because we've known each other for many years, including his time as Inspector General of the Los Angeles Police Department, and later, of course, on his ascension to a federal judgeship. He is always an incisive, focused voice for justice, for reform, and now on the bench. Really, he embodies what it means to be an impeccable jurist who brings fairness to everything he does and is a wonderful example for all of us in our city and the justice system. Andre, it's a pleasure to be able to recognize you. Michelle King, our Superintendent of Schools. You're especially important to me because our kids went through, K through 12 to LAUSD schools. And the importance of public education and bringing our city together cannot ever be overestimated. And your leadership at this crucial time, I will say, Michelle, is both welcome and so necessary. All of us need you now. Our kids need you. Congratulations today. And my friend and colleague, Matt Johnson, our president of our police commission, who leads that commission with great courage, with great integrity, and with a heart devoted to finding ways to make this the best police department anywhere. Matt is a hands-on leader. All of us owe you a great debt of gratitude. Yeah. And now, finally, our Lifetime Achievement honoree today, Johnny Mathis, who, as the council president said, is here. Dionne Warwick has joined him. Apparently today, the roads to San Jose were clogged, so she was able to make her way here, which is only to the good for us. Mr. Mathis, unlike the other honorees, I haven't had the honor of interacting with you until today. But what can you say about Johnny Mathis at a time when our nation was really contending for the first time in a meaningful way with civil rights? Young teenage white girls were buying records by the millions made by Johnny Mathis. And he's always been, one would say, a voice for all that we value so highly. And Heather Aubrey from my staff is here, and she was recounting a story as we were walking over here. Heather's sister wrote for the LA Times, and she wrote a story about how their mother was such an adoring fan of Mr. Mathis. And Heather recounted to me, and this is really indicative of the kind of person Mr. Mathis is, that he saw the article and he wrote back, and he said, if your mom ever wants to make her way to a Johnny Mathis concert, I want to make sure that she has tickets and can see me and so forth, in a way that he didn't have to do. There's a person here who really wants to connect with everybody, and it's really quite extraordinary. And so now there's the corny part of what I want to say. It's not for me to say, Mr. Mathis, but chances are that more than one of us is going to get a little misty today. I hope it's not too much or too little or too late. But you truly are wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Thank you. I thought you were going to say send in the clowns. Okay.
All right. Well, we're also honored to be joined by our city controller, Ron Galperin, who makes sure that we have all the information and data we need to keep our city on track. The Honorable Ron Galperin.
Good morning, everybody. What an honor it is to be here to kick off African American Heritage Month, to celebrate the many accomplishments of African Americans throughout our nation and, of course, in Los Angeles. And what a vibrant community we have, what great neighborhoods, culture, entrepreneurs, artists, preachers, scientists, academics, leaders, and so much more. And, of course, today's honorees, who I am just absolutely in awe of, I have to say, today. And I usually don't get starstruck. Each of you have been a voice, both literally and figuratively, in jurisprudence, in entertainment, in law enforcement, in education, and, of course, in music. Now, I also think about how we're just 2 blocks away from the memorial for Biddy Mason, who many of you know lived actually from 1818 through 1891. And in those years that she lived, she managed to be a slave, a midwife, a nurse, a real estate entrepreneur. Then she became a mogul and a philanthropist and founder of LA's first AME. Amazing what one person can do in one lifetime. And we've had a lot of progress since then. A lot of progress, of course, in civil rights and activism, policy changes, history lessons that we've learned. But we are also hearing some very strident voices, particularly in Washington, D.C., as I think we all know. And we hear bigotry, we hear intolerance, divisive rhetoric, and some very disturbing policies. Now more than ever, LA stands together in a united front to celebrate the legacy of African American culture and cultures. Thanks very much, by the way, to our Authors Study Club. We give them a hand. I also wanted to thank, of course, Corinne Price for all the work in putting this together, as well as our council president. Thank you very much. We welcome and embrace diversity because we know that is when people of different backgrounds, national origins, ethnicities, religions, cultures come together, it makes us stronger as a whole. And I know this firsthand, being the first in my family to be born in this country. So I'd like to close by quoting from a song from the legendary Johnny Mathis, of course. Small World, a hit song from 1959. Today, these lyrics still ring true. Funny, you're a stranger who's come here, come from another town. Funny, I'm a stranger myself here. Small world, isn't it? We have so much in common, it's a phenomena. We could pool our resources by joining forces from now on, a lesson we could all learn. So thank you very, very much for the opportunity to be here. And I'll steal one more set of lyrics and say that we love our honorees and we all say a little prayer for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Controller. And Mr. Price, we also have another special guest with us today, and this is an honor for me to be one of the first folk in this chamber to say this. From LA's own LA Chargers, we have a rookie linebacker who just made the all-rookie team on defense, Jatavis Brown, up here in the front row from the LA Chargers. Welcome. Made 79 tackles this year. Mr. Price, back to you.
Thank you. We've got the mayor is back with us, and Mayor.
All right. Our city, as we know, is so incredibly rich with culture and arts. This is the creative capital of the world. And talented writers, visual artists. And each year, our Department of Cultural Affairs highlights the work of African American writers and visual artists with an African American Heritage Month calendar and cultural guide. As always, this publication is filled with thought-provoking words and images, a full calendar of events taking place across every neighborhood in Los Angeles. So I want to thank the Department of Cultural Affairs, our General Manager, Danielle Brazil, for producing another beautiful book in 2017, and congratulations to all the artists that are in this year's publication. I especially want to acknowledge Marcellus Lovelace. Although Marcellus can't be with us today, his remarkable piece, Intelligent Black Child, is on the cover, which I'm excited to share with you right now. It now says, Mr. President, you call upon Council President Wesson and Councilmember Price to join you. So I think we're going to unveil this right now. If you want to step down and join us right now.
Yeah, I will step
alongside our
down.
City Attorney and City Controller. first two. I'll do the second.
All right, let's give it a hand again for that tremendous cover of our cultural guide. It's my honor to present our first of 4 Hall of Fame awardees. This is for the Outstanding Achievement in Education to Michelle King. Michelle, why don't you join us? Mrs. King is the first African-American woman as superintendent of 700,000 students in the second largest district in the nation. Among Superintendent King's biggest achievements is reaching 100% graduation rates. That is the goal she has set, and we know that she's going to achieve it. We applaud you for your extraordinary efforts as you work toward reaching your ambitious goal, serving all the children in LA Unified. Superintendent King has done it all these past 30 years with LA Unified. As a teacher, a coordinator, high school principal, local district superintendent, and central office administrator. Today, she's a fearless leader for the district, and that is no easy task, but we are with you. Superintendent Michelle King, please join us. We honor you with the Outstanding Achievement in Education Award.
Microphone's yours. I'll hold on to this. Michelle King, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti, Council President Wesson, City Council members, and all gathered. I am truly honored and humbled to be here today to receive this award on this very special day that marks the beginning of African American Heritage Month. I can't think of a more befitting opportunity to be here with you as the first African American superintendent of the Los Angeles Unified School District. Education has been a part of my life, and as an adult have worked tirelessly to ensure that our kids receive the highest quality education. And as you probably know, LA Unified is 80% youth in poverty, 90% youth of color. And my message to them is, students, it's time to go to work. It's time to go to work and to get your education, because it's that will determine and secure your future. And so I tell my students, your zip code does not determine your destiny. The color of your skin does not determine how far you can climb, but your education will secure that you can attain your dreams. And I walk among my kids and faculty to represent what's possible in this great city, in our country, to inspire and encourage them to reach for the stars and be all they can be. Thank you again. I'm so appreciative of this honor.
Mr. Price, one more special guest, an individual that spent 12 years of his life walking around this very horseshoe, 10 years as the chief of staff to his dad. We have Bernard Parks Jr. Stand up, Bernard. Let everybody give you a round of... You did your duty here. You worked hard. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we'd like to bring up our Hall of Fame Award for Outstanding Achievement in Government. Mr. Chairman, President of our Police Commission, Matt Johnson. Matt, come on up. Matt, who is joined by his lovely wife, has done an extraordinary job on the Police Commission, as we all know, moving important policy changes that have made the police department more accountable, more transparent, and we believe more effective. Matt is also an entertainment lawyer, but more than that, he's heavily involved with many community organizations, such as the Boys and Girls Club, in fact being the past president of the Challenger Boys and Girls Club here in the Ninth. He's also a member of the board of the LA Urban League, the Foreign Policy Roundtable, Next Generation, and Common Sense Media. Commissioner Johnson was awarded President Obama's Volunteer Service Award for his selfless community contributions, and wonderful work with today's youth. Please join me in welcoming Commission President Matt Johnson. Where are you going, folks? Sorry.
Thank you. I'm truly honored and humbled to be here today. Thank you, Council President Wesson. Thank you, all the council members, City Attorney Mike Fuhrer, Controller Ron Galperin, Mike Davis, the Author Study Club. Thank you for all the work you do. It's a particular honor to be honored today with Michelle King. As the son of a firefighter who did not graduate from high school and a product of public education, I fully realize the promise and opportunity that public education brings, and I appreciate your vision and hard work. Of course, the legendary Johnny Mathis, to be here with you today is quite an honor, and the Honorable Andre Barrot, whose work on the Police Commission as the Inspector General laid the groundwork for a lot of what I'm trying to accomplish. And your friendship and mentorship in my role as Police Commission President has been immensely valuable. And of course, I want to thank the Mayor, who has given me the incredible opportunity and privilege to serve in this position and to help work on your great goals, to have this city fulfill its promise. And then, of course, most importantly, my wife, who not only tolerates my early mornings and late nights, but has been fully supportive, even when it has meant having some uninvited guests to our house from time to time. Some of you know what that means. We have a lot of challenges in this city, whether it's improving the relationships between police and the communities they serve, whether it's homelessness, whether it's mental illness, and of course, this looming battle that we seem to be marching towards with the new powers that be in Washington, D.C. And I'm very proud to be a part of that fight. I'm very proud to be a part of that fight with all the people that are in front of me and the people that are behind me as well. So thank you for this recognition. It's a proud day for me, and I'm very honored and humble. Thank you.
Well, speaking of Andre Barrot, it is now my pleasure to present the Hall of Fame Outstanding Achievement Award in Law to the Honorable Judge Andre Barrot, if I can ask him to come forward. Judge Barrot is an Angelino. He began his career in public service more than 25 years ago as a public defender for Los Angeles County. He went on to become the Inspector General here in Los Angeles, and we may look back on some of those days in which feds weren't knocking on our doors for ideas or for models, as they do often today, but were knocking on our doors to take over our police department. But Andre Barrot helped us steer a way forward, and it is his moral compass, it is his deep knowledge and intelligence, it is his heart more than anything else that defines who he is. And he showed a profound commitment to fairness and something that I hope we can continue to uphold in this country. It's called the rule of law. And as the son of Haitian immigrants, his accomplishments speak to the best of the American experience and the diversity of black Angelinos who trace their ancestry back to Africa, to the Caribbean, to Central America, to many places in the world. Judge Barrot, who also served as United States Attorney for 4 years during the Obama administration, was elevated by President Obama to become a federal judge. And we depend on him every single day to dispense justice in a dispassionate and insightful way. So on behalf of Angelinos everywhere, we want to thank this angel in the City of Angels, Judge Andre Barrot. Oh, that's Johnny Mathis. You know you always wanted to be Johnny.
Well, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be back here to see some familiar faces and some new faces. An incredible debt of gratitude go out to the mayor, Council President Wesson, Mike Davis, Kern Price, and all the city council members for even having my name come up in this conversation. But to me, to the extent I get any acknowledgement for this award, it really is a testament to the greatness that is the city of Los Angeles. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here when I say this is a great city, a city of angels, a city of dreams, a city that exports many fabulous things throughout the country and throughout the world. But it is also a city of dreams that allowed me, as a young son of Haitian immigrants, to move out here from New Jersey at the age of 20, not knowing a single soul in this entire state, to go out to law school to pursue a dream of being a lawyer. It also allowed me, because of the great institutions and the people in this city that embraced me along the way, to meet incredible mentors and confidants that helped me march through to this position that I currently and so proudly hold today. Whether it was the supervisors at the Public Defender's Office, at the U.S. Attorney's Office, at my law firm, and certainly from the Police Commission, the presidents, vice presidents that I served under, and certainly to become the United States Attorney, the first African-American United States Attorney in this district's 50-year history, and then to be humbled, extremely humbled, honored, and quite frankly shocked to receive a phone call from the White House to be nominated to be a United States District Judge, the first Haitian-American United States District Judge in this country's history. And so this acknowledgement is really a testament to the greatness that this city has, the greatness that the people and the institutions within this city, and those that have embraced me. And it is, quite frankly, something that has made me live beyond my wildest dreams. I never thought in a million years when I drove out here in 19-whatever that I would be standing here before City Council next to legends like Johnny Mathis, Dionne Warwick, Michelle King, and Matt Johnson. It is an incredible honor, and I just can't thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Well, now it's finally our great pleasure to present a Lifetime Achievement Award to a man who really needs no introduction, whose words and songs have already been woven into the speeches that came before me today. And while technically he's a Texan, LA is claiming him as our own. Johnny Mathis is a household name, sold over give him some love. Johnny Mathis has sold as many records as there are people in the United States, 350 million records worldwide, making him one of the biggest selling artists of the 20th and 21st century. But we know music is not all that Johnny excelled in. Many are familiar with the story of what a great athlete he was, how he broke in his own high school the record established, I think, by Bill Russell, was it? High jump? Is that right?
Sort of.
Okay. Don't believe everything you read in Wikipedia, but he was a great high jumper. He broke some record and was asked to try out for the Olympics in 1956. So, Olympics and sports or music and touching our lives. But he decided to record a little song called Wonderful, Wonderful, and the pathway was set in motion. And we are so glad you made that call. Not that we wouldn't have honored you as a high jumper here today, but we have been blessed by your talent ever since. And if you're still interested in the Olympics, we hope maybe you can come back and compete in 2024. We'd love to have you. When LA welcomes back the Olympics, we hope, to this great town for a third time. There have been so many ways in which you have touched our lives. Those quiet moments, those sad moments, those celebratory moments, when what you say has touched our hearts and our souls and moved us forward. But you've also been, when the mic is turned off, a remarkable human being, standing up for each and every one of us and all of our rights. And it is our great pleasure, and I know your son Alex Mathis and your granddaughter Sam Mathis are going to join you, but it is our pleasure to present the one and only Johnny Mathis with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the City of Angels. We love you, Johnny.
Right. Well, thank you, Mayor Garcetti. Ladies and gentlemen, city officials, and I have never been so flattered in my life. This is quite a wonderful experience for me to see how the workings of our city government go, and it's given me a great insight into some of the hard work that goes into the things that people like me take for granted. And I thank you all for that. What I do comes from my dad. I love my dad. My dad was the best guy in the world. He raised 7 children with my mom and my dad on domestic wages. He never knew quite where his next job was going to be. He was a singer. And my brothers and sisters never listened, but I did. And I loved it. I thought it was great. He could make these wonderful sounds. And he was my dad, and it didn't seem, well, it was different to have your dad be your best pal, I guess. But anyway, that is the reason that I sang and that I still sing. It is pure joy. It's wonderful, as a lot of you know. You sing. Some of us good, some of us bad. But I'm flattered. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I love you all. Thank you.
Why don't come out here? Come on over, picture of the family, too. You can take this out. Don't worry, tell them the mayor did it if they ask you. Right here. Why don't we come out in front? It'll be a little better. Come on this way.
You didn't even know.
Here, this way. Here, come out here. Come out here. Come step out here. That way the podium won't be in our way. Come around.
Yep. Let's give it up again for the one and only Johnny Mathis, and for all of our awardees. They've just done an extraordinary job making us all proud, and we just appreciate them all. At this time, we want to bring up Ernestine Gordon from our Author Study Club just to talk a little bit about the organization and the great work you're doing and that you continue to do as you make sure that we don't forget our legacy and that we continue moving forward. Come on up.
I guess it's still morning.
Still.
I'm very excited and honored to be here. I want to share with you that this is the 67th year of the City of Los Angeles recognizing and sharing in the celebration of Black history. And it is indeed mind-blowing to think that in 1950, a short little, well, I really don't know if she was short or not, came to the mayor of Los Angeles and said she wanted to join and co-host with the city the celebration of Black history. And he was agreeable, and it's continued for 67 years. And so I just want to thank all of the mayors, our present mayor, Mayor Garcetti, that continues to give us his support, to President Wesson. Thank you so much for allowing us and appointing wonderful Councilman Kern Price for being there for us. His staff, Leslie Wall, is wonderful. Ken, he's with Councilman Dawson's. But all of them have been wonderful. Also, the mayor appointed Mike Davis to work with us for the last 3 years. And Commissioner Mike Davis has been nothing but outstanding because of his contribution, his professionalism, his knowledge of history. We have created the panel discussion that will occur tomorrow on Thursday, the second day of the opening ceremony. So, and we will discuss the theme. And then, of course, we have the evening with the authors. So those things have occurred because of Mike Davis. And so I really appreciate all of that. I'd like to ask the members of our Author Study Club if they would please stand real quick at this time.
And let's give them a round of applause. They deserve it. They work so hard.
And I'd like to give a special recognition to our general chair, who is Daryl Brown, Senior Vice President of U.S. Bank. Would you please stand? Right. And J.L. Armstrong, I think some of you already know J.L. with Toyota. But these are men that have supported us along the way, and so we really appreciate it. And then Mordina Moore is our executive director and responsible for gathering up corporate sponsorship. A lot of wonderful things have been said already about Black history, and the theme this year is the crisis in Black education. And now you might say, well, where's the crisis? But because I see all of the intelligent men and women and courageous men and women who have overcome barriers in the past. That's what we did when blacks, it was against the law for blacks to learn to read. That was a barrier, but we marched on, we persevered. And even in the eyes of the civil rights, we always wanted a level playing field. But now there are some barriers that have popped up. So we need to recognize those barriers, as we've said, and move forward. As Councilman Price talked about, we're looking toward the future. We need all of and everybody to participate and be productive citizens for our future, for the future that's coming up. So we want to encourage all of you to take a look at the barriers that are interfering with our children getting a good education, so that we can work together to find solutions. Remember, it just takes one person to make a difference, and you have a circle of influence, and that's what I encourage each and every one of us to do, is to influence your circle so we can make a difference, a positive difference, leave a legacy, be the great country and city that we know that we are with everybody. It's a multicultural city, nation. So we need everybody's intelligence and education. We need good education. So I thank you, and I want to again thank the mayor. I want to thank the council, and I do encourage all of you. I'm looking forward to the city walk, the tour. Yes. It's exciting to hear. I know that Albert Lord was wonderful in planning that, and so thank you again for your support for the mayor and for the councilman.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Let's give another round of applause to our Author Study Club. They started this. This is your baby, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Mayor, I don't know if there, Councilman, I don't know if there are any members on the queue. Otherwise, you've got the last word, Mr. President.
Well, before I take in fact, I will have the semi-last word, then I'm going to call on Mr. Cedillo. But I do want to say to the Our Author Study Club that this is a very powerful event that we have every year, and you should be so proud that it's your organization that made this happen. Regardless of who's in the council, who's the mayor, you guys are the glue that keeps this together. Let's give them another round of applause. And don't think we will ever forget what you've done. To all of the honorees, I want to say thank you for your service and congratulations. To Mr. Price, many of you may have heard there's a saying called the on-time budget. Well, this is the on-time presentation. It's the most organized, slick, to-the-minute presentation. I should have known that you would do it. Let's give Council Member Curran Price, because he worked very, very, very hard. And lastly, all I want to say is that for 11 years, we on this council, when it was Mr. Parks and Ms. Perry and myself, every year we had a display on the bridge. This is the 11th year. And so what we have here in City Hall on many different floors are items from each display. So if you have interest in a legacy of service, which is about African American elected officials in this great state, if you want to see A Lady of First, which is a background on Supervisor Yvonne Burke, laying the foundation, which is Mervyn Dimely, God bless him for all that he did to open the doors for African American electeds in this state, to our Hail to the Chief exhibit, which is Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. And my favorite would be At Your Service, which is a depiction of the many African American employees for the city of Los Angeles, all of their departments. And again, we've had black inventors, the African American fraternities and sororities, and the role that they played in civil rights. We've had the Motown stories. So all of those displays are on display in this building. So we have displays on the first floor, second floor, third, fourth, and 27th floor, a special recognition to the greatest mayor in any city of the United States of America, and that's Tom Bradley. And that was all done by a staff member of mine. I love him, but he drives me crazy. Let's give Albert Lord a round of applause. He does all this work. You deserve it, Albert. Mr. Cedillo.
Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, I just want to take a brief second to say thank you. Thank you to the entire African American community, to the leadership that's gathered here today. As you know, Mr. President, these are challenging times for us. Every day, it seems like every 3 hours, more idiocy seems to be coming out of Washington, D.C. And it's challenging because it threatens the civil liberties and the civil rights of all of us. And so I want to say thank you to the African American community for their incredible struggles over the years. We see Buffalo Soldiers here, true patriots. We see contributors to great American cultural art forms like jazz, a uniquely American phenomenon. I say thank you because much of my political career, I am indebted to the African American community. I am indebted to a young man named Winston Dobie, who plucked me out from LA High School, who plucked me out of Roosevelt High School and put me in a program called Upward Bound. And I spent my 3 summers of high school at UCLA with friends from Jordan High, from Venice High, and from Roosevelt. And it was Winston Dobie who introduced me to Bill Alkins, who then got me my first job with Tom Bradley. I have a great debt to the African American community for my political life, but my community does. Because I would not have written the DREAM Act had there not been Mendes versus Westminster, which was the precursor to Brown versus Board of Education. And that demonstrates this black Latino unity that is part and parcel of the city of Los Angeles and part and parcel of the history of this nation. And I say that today because it's so important for that to be understood. I say thank you because much of my political teeth were sharpened, if they are, by being the leader of one of the largest African American unions in this region, known as Local 660 SEIU. And that was a great union, and I was very proud, and I remain proud to have been part of that because it's there that my relationships were strengthened with the Brotherhood Crusade, with the Rainbow Coalition, with SEIU and AFSCME. I got to meet great leaders like Bill Lucy and Jesse Jackson and my best friend Jim Franklin. Much of my political life has been shaped by my relationship with the African American community and the benefits of that. The California DREAM Act, the driver's license for California immigrants, those historic struggles have been shaped and formed by this great relationship. So I say thank you to the African American community for your heroic struggles. You are needed more today. Those examples are needed more today to inform the struggles we need to confront the challenges coming out of Washington, D.C. Let me say finally thank you to you, Mr. Mayor. You have been a leader for this entire city. There are challenges in front of us, but we are confident that you are the steward of this great ship we call Los Angeles. Thank you so much for what you're going to do for us. Current price? The price is always right. Mr. President, you're always my president. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Gilbert. Let's give him one more round of applause. African American Heritage or History Month. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. And let me invite everyone to come out. There's a reception on the South Lawn. Where are we? South Lawn.
We'll just have somebody guide you out there.
Reception
Will
on
somebody
South Lawn.
guide him?
All are welcome. Thank you for celebrating, and let's make history every day.
Great job, Mr. Price. Everybody give yourselves a round of applause. Miss Martinez.
Excuse me, baby. I'm sorry. Okay.
Let me say hi to Barack.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No way. Well, good to see. Tell him hello. And come bring him to church.
Please rejoin the reception out at the other end. I needed everybody to rejoin the reception out the other side for me. Where's it going? Who is he talking about?
You going this way?
Go ahead and rejoin the reception around the other side, folks. Yeah. Well, not everybody's going back there. They'll have to meet with staff and figure out who.
Martina.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, come on.
Thank you, sir. The Buffalo.
We're going this way, right? Where's the little lady?
Go ahead and rejoin them back.
Over there.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Just for a few folks. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir, there's one more.
Okay. Very good. There. Yep. Thank you. Straight to the back. Somebody got her? You got her? The clerk? Where's Graciano?
Okay, members, if I can ask you to sit down. Members of the public, if I can ask you to exit through the back doors or please take a seat. We need to resume our council meeting. Sergeants, if you can please help me with the members of the public who are in the center aisle. I need you to take a seat or exit through the back doors. We need to begin our regular council meeting for today. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 1st, and this is the Los Angeles City Council meeting. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson, 12 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Well, thank you. What's the first order of business?
Approval of the minutes.
Moved by Mr. Krikorian and second by Mr. O'Farrell.
Madam President, that brings us to commendatory resolutions for approval.
Moved by Mr. Buscaino and second by Mr. Blumenfield.
Madam President, the Department of Building and Safety recommends that items 1K and 1L be received and filed inasmuch as the liens have been paid in full. That item 1V be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been rescinded by the Department. That the lien amount for item 1X be reduced to $1,996 due to receipt of partial payment. That items 1O, 1S, and 1T be continued to April 4th. And that items 1C, 1F, 1J, 1P, 1Q, and 1U be continued to February 21st.
Okay, without objection, that will be the order, members. If I can please direct your attention to the agenda. Mr. Clerk, let's run through the agenda, please.
Very good. Madam President, items 1 through 10 are items noticed for public hearing.
Mr. Clerk, it's my understanding we do have cards on these items.
Yes, Madam President, cards on all items.
Members, do you have any specials on items 1 through 10? There is no reminder. Okay, let's move on.
Madam President, that brings us to items 28 through 32. There are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. I'm sorry, Madam President. Items 11 through 27 are items for which public hearings have been held. And I appreciate that.
So, members, do you have any specials on items 11 through 27?
And Madam President, for the record, for item 27, a Personnel and Animal Welfare Committee report has been submitted, posted, and circulated for Council's consideration.
Okay, let's open the roll on those items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Very well. What's next?
Now, Madam President, that brings us to items 28 through 32, items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are before us now.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, we do have cards on all items.
And members, any specials? Okay, let's hold those items. What's next?
Madam President, that brings us to items 33 through 41. They're items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
Let's go to Mr. Krikorian, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Items 33 through 41 are all settlements that have been considered by Budget and Finance, which recommends the approval of the City Attorney's recommendations. I should note that items 36, 40, and 41 are items calling for a judgment obligation bond authorization. Other than that, those are all matters that can be considered in open session unless members have questions or concerns to be taken in closed session. Budget and Finance recommends an aye vote on all
Okay,
matters.
Mr. Englander?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that, Madam President. If we could just vote separately just on those three, the 36, 40, and 41, that would be great. In fact, if you want to just take 36, 40, and 41 as one block and the rest of them as the other block, that's fine too.
Madam President, unless there are any members wishing to go into closed session, I'll now read those settlement amounts. For item 33, in the case entitled Richmond Offal versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $150,000 in settlement. For item 34, in the case entitled Patricia Hauk versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $400,000 in settlement. For item 35, in the case entitled Deborah Mack versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $251,048.30 in settlement. For item 36, in the case entitled Maria Elena Montoya versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $2.1 million in settlement. For item 37, in the case entitled Jane Doe versus City of Los Angeles et al., there is a recommendation to expend $325,000 in settlement. For item 38, in the case entitled Galperin versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $350,000 in settlement. For item 39, in the case entitled Dustin Daniels et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $375,000 in settlement. For item 40, in the case entitled Christian Rodriguez et al. Versus City of Los Angeles et al., there is a recommendation to expend $5.75 million in settlement. And for item 41, in the case entitled Paula J. Solorzano et al. Versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $2 million in settlement.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, let's go ahead and take two separate votes. Let's take items 33, 34, 35, 37, 38, and 39 together. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, those items pass. Let's move on to take the second vote on items 36, 40, and 41. Let's open the roll.
And Madam President, pardon me, before voting, do you wish to bifurcate this matter to first vote on whether... No? Very good. So now that brings us to 36, 40, and 41 that are now before you.
Thank you. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, for the three settlements we just approved, items 36, 40, 41, that's Montoya, Rodriguez, and Solorzano, respectively, the City Council found that the settlements are in the best interest of the city and that the city intends to make an inter-fund borrowing in advance from the reserve fund to pay the settlements on an interim basis, which loans or advances will be refunded or reimbursed with the proceeds of judgment obligation bond issue. A resolution regarding such intent was separately considered and adopted. Any issuance of judgment obligation bonds would require future council approval, which would be considered by council at a later date.
Okay, let's call Mr. Alcala. You filled out a card for a number of items. Mr. Alcala, are you still here? There you are. Sir, you filled out a card for items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 42. Go ahead.
Yes, I wish to speak on all of them.
You will speak on all of them. Go ahead.
Okay, the first one is 1B. These people are here because you've been giving them liens without a notice. You haven't given them proper notice. They had a lot of people coming to rent and not pay their rent, and now they're in danger of losing their property because they didn't know anything about it until finally a register letter or one of those letters where you have to sign came to their hands. They finally received one letter after like maybe 20 that was properly sent by the city. Why don't you do it every time? Send a register letter so people know that they're getting sued by the city and they're about to lose their properties. The city dedicates itself to robbing the people. And you know why you got Donald Trump? Because of your actions. We all hate that son of a bitch, but what can we do? It was you that put him in office.
And Mr. Alcala, you are not speaking on any of the items you filled out a card for. You need to stick to the item, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, that's part of what I'm saying. If you didn't put all these illegal liens on people, the people would not be against you. Why don't we create a system where nobody gets overtaxed by the city and by the state and by the county and by the country? And what the hell is left for the people? Nothing. You leave us with nothing. Barely enough money to eat. And, well, now he's repealing Obamacare, but we don't care because we're talking about liens. Okay, this lien that you put on these poor people amounts to what? It's so big I can't even see it. $3,523 for what? And then the next guy has to pay $2,280, and the next guy $2,200. Hell, do you know that most people don't even make that kind of money? And even if they were to charge rent, they don't get that much money. How come the city can get all this money? Look at this. 3 pages full of liens against the people. So what the hell are you? What kind of government are you? Government for us and only for us and for us only? So we can drive our limos and we can go wherever we want to?
Mr. Alcala, you can go ahead and have your minute for general public comment.
General public comment. Fuck you, Donald Trump. You are acting just like City Hall here. You sign orders in a hurry, and then you have to say, oh, that was a mistake. Oh, no. Did I hear you are having to pay people millions and millions of dollars because you made so many fucking mistakes? I heard at least $20 million have to go back to the people that you ripped off in the first place. What kind of bunch of idiots are right here? Look at you, all wearing goggles and glasses and looking smart, intelligent with bow ties and neckties and looking just like that fucker Donald Trump. Look at you. You all look like that. You're a bunch of son of a bitches. I'll tell you that gently, okay? Fuck you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alcala. Have a blessed day. The next speaker is Herman. Are you here? Mr. Herman, you filled out a card for items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 42, which is a special. You can't speak on that yet. And your general public comment. Go ahead. Start his time, please.
Yeah, we're talking about liens. Unconstitutional liens against a family, a man and a woman that Mr. Acapella was talking about on item B, CD8, who other than the Black Caucus, Harris Dawson, that fucking N. Help people in your community, bro. Help people in your community, but you're not here because you're celebrating as opposed to helping your constituents. That's why when Herb Wesson said something about me earlier under the presentations, I'm only speaking about liens. So gently as Juan said, fuck you. And let's go to now the lien regarding CD8 at 666 West 69th Street. The Moreno family, on their behalf, waive all interest, give them a letter of correction, and I will say it again gently, fuck you, on behalf of public interest and politically correct statement. Now, what other fucking item you want me to talk about? That's right, you don't even fucking pay attention. What do you want me to talk about, Madam Chair?
Madam President, the Speaker is no longer addressing any of the agenda items he signed
now
up for.
on item number 30, 29, 28, Fu, Mr. City Attorney who represents the chair. Shut the hell up. I know where I'm at. I'm on
You're
item
not
28,
following the agenda
29,
items.
and
You
30.
filled out a card for Mr. Herman.
Item 20, a lot of time to kill. I only get 3
Again, he's not speaking to any of the items.
Mr. Herman, if you're not going to speak to the items, I'm going to ask you to sit down.
170086 in CD1, fuck Cedillo and Busquiano regarding related to street vending. Fuck you, poverty pimp motherfuckers. There's a reason behind that. There's a reason. Because once again, you authorize Council District 1 to accept grants, to accept a grant. A grant on what? Shut the fuck
No,
up.
excuse me, sir. You're
I'm
not
not
engaging with the
finished. I'm
public.
not
You either stick to the item, I'm going to ask you to sit down.
That's right. We're talking about authorizing Council District 1 to grant. But if you go out there to Joe Busquiano's grant issue off of Imperial in Wilmington, that's such a great eyesore for a grant. Put some money where it works. Put some money where it works. Because that's what you're doing to the people in your constituency. Nothing. Strictly nothing. Now, general public comment.
Mr. Clerk, can you please start his 1 minute of general public comment?
Now, general public comment to all you white niggers who sit here pretending that everything's A-OK in the city of Los Angeles. Trump, Trump, Trump. Because the bottom line is this. Trump is going to stop all those federal dollars from coming here on behalf of those Americans who say, do your goddamn job, we will praise you. Do your goddamn job wrong, we will bitch, bitch, bitch. It's not unconstitutional to bitch. After all, it's our First Amendment. Second of all, HHH. Herb Wesson Jr., Hilda Solis, and Hitler all have something in common. No fucking Olympics because Trump, Trump, Trump. That's the way you have to talk to these fools in this council's shoe, because none of them take an action to protect your rights as a citizens, especially the Dibble Dwarf. Look at him.
Sit down, Mr. Herman. Next speaker is Eric Previn. Sergeants, can you show Mr. Herman to his seat, please? Eric Previn, are you here? Mr. Previn, you are speaking on items 1, 10, 2, and 31. Go ahead.
What about 36, 40, and 41?
I do not have those cards here. The only cards I have for you is 1, 10, 2, 31. Go ahead.
Could you restore my time, please? Those are the judgment obligation bond items that you denied in committee. My
Just
name is
for the-
Eric Previn, and I am from Studio City, and I reside in the 2nd District. I'm running for the office of mayor here in Los Angeles. That was a very touching presentation this morning, and I just want to call out Hidden Figures, the movie.
Again, this is not on the agenda.
I know, but African American Month is worth celebrating, sir.
Sir,
Yeah?
you filled all the cards for the specific
I know, I'm
items.
trying
Please stick to
to-
the items or sit down.
Okay, you're restricting my comments. Item number 10 today in CD7, we have a little fence, little wall is being put up by Herb Wesson is stepping in for Mr. Fuentes, who's out of commission. He vacated his seat and is cooperating with federal authorities, possibly in Sacramento. We don't know for sure. Item number 2 is in your district, Councilmember Martinez, and this is another little wall being put up to restrict individuals from coming through in a municipal setting. Obviously, you're trying to protect against some criminal activity, which is what you're doing night and day, and obviously some people appreciate that, those who have been contributing to you. In my district, CD2 on Sunswept, we have a very similar problem where we would just ask for a gate under a bridge because there have been some characters congregating there and doing stuff, but Councilmember Krikorian must be celebrating. In fact, you don't have a quorum. Please put the camera on a wide shot. Put a camera on the wide shot, sir. Will you do it?
Mr. Previn, I need you to stick to the item, sir, or sit
That
down.
was a request. Item number 15 is the Business Improvement District in Studio City, where I reside.
I
Also,
don't
this was
believe
not
Mr.
on-
Previn signed up for item 15.
Of course I did.
No, he did not. You know the items, sir. Please stick to the items.
Of course I did. It's my own
No, you
business
did not fill out cards for those items. That public comment was satisfied in those items, sir.
That's not true. Item number 1, your regular lien item, which should be separate as a public hearing. Mr. Fauble will explain to the bar.
I'm running the meeting, sir.
Public
You're
hearings,
speaking on
public
the items
hearings like
you fill
item
the
1.
card for, or you're going to sit down.
Excuse me. Public hearings like item 1 have to be held separately from the multiple items section. He doesn't
Madam-
respect that. That's okay.
Madam Clerk,
but I
can you
can
please
talk
hold
about
his
that.
time?
Let me explain. Item 1 was noticed for public hearing. Item 15 had hearing at committee. We are not required under the Brown Act to reopen the hearing here. We did not. Mr. Previn may not speak to item 15. He may speak to item 1, which he signed up for, and is subject to public hearing.
Mr. Previn knows the rules. He just likes to be difficult. Go ahead.
You're right. Mr. Previn does know the rules, Councilmember Martinez. Mr. Fauble doesn't know the rules. Public hearings are required to be held separately.
And
You
again,
can't
we are
merge
no
them
longer
together.
on the agenda item.
And now you're cutting my microphone, which is against the... What are you doing?
This is it, Mr.
I don't
Previn.
want to
Thank
argue.
you very much.
Okay.
Go ahead. Start as 1 minute of general public comment. We've given you many opportunities to stick to the items. Go ahead.
I can
You
only
have your
imagine
1
what's-
minute of general public comment. Go
I
ahead,
can only
sir.
imagine what's going on in the head of Mike Bond and Bob Blumenfield, who have brains in their head. They must be worried that you guys continue to challenge a guy who won at the California Supreme Court, that you are breaking the law. Public hearings are supposed to be held separately. One time, Marquise Harris Dawson got up and had a meeting with a lobbyist. We had it on film, and Dion O'Connell said, "I'm not sure I see the problem." After he read into the record, all council members must be focused during a public hearing on the monitors in front of them or the recognized speaker. Speaking of recognized speaker, Mr. Blumenfield, hashtag Blumenfield's nose, you are spending $8 million to upgrade your video equipment, and yet you still do not make the public equitable or framed in the same way that we saw all those wonderful presentees today. By the way, it was very nice to see Mayor Garcetti down here in the Temple of Democracy / Temple of Hypocrisy. Let the people see what's going on down here, and the reform will follow forthwith. That is what is going to happen. I believe it. I believe it not because I'm so highly interested, but because it's the only right way for Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Mr. Arnold Sachs, are you still here? Mr. Sachs, you filled out cards for items 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, and 31.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. I did I'll talk a little bit about the assessment part of the street lighting. There was a story here about the wrong way to fix homelessness in L.A. on 8/24/16. It refers to assessments and how they're going to be charged for this proposition that was just passed. Because the tax increase is based on Prop 13 measure reassessments, which differ dramatically by year of purchase, it will be inherently unfair. The bulk of the burden will fall on those who purchased property in recent years who have made recent additions to their homes. It's important you understand what the reassessment is and how you handle that when you talk about lighting districts, because it's an unfair burden passed on to certain homeowners. I held this item about the grant from the Board of Supervisors. There was another story a few weeks ago about the Santa Monica Airport fighting to close. The city council wanted to close it based on a grant. And the ruling from the federal government was that the grant obligation is for 20 years. That's federal grant. State grants, they run for 20 years. So I'm wondering if this $15,000 grant for street vending, and it's good that the board legalized street vending in the unincorporated areas before they're helping the city? There is no word from the board. Although there's a lot of stupidity at the board, there is no word from the board. So does this grant follow the rules and regulations of other grants, and which is another problem? We could talk about the California high-speed rail and the grants they get. Keep in mind it's for 20 years. That's the problem with grants in and of themselves. You may get the money, but it's expended over a period of 20 years. It may not be expended over that whole period. You could wait 19 years to expend that money, and they could be taking money from a different bank account and using that, and then fill it in with the grant money that finally has to be spent after 20 years. It's important to understand the language that's used in everyday politics. Don't underestimate yourself about the insanity in Washington. You sell yourself short, Mr. Cedillo. You could stay right here in Los Angeles and hear about a lot of insanity right around this horseshoe and at the Board of Supervisors. And finally, the walkways, number 10, refers to walkways. So you have right-of-ways, you have sidewalks, you have walkways. How do they fall under the parameters of who's responsible for repairing them? If your sidewalk is a walkway, who's responsible? If your walkway is a sidewalk, if they're both right-of-ways. And it mentions in here for vehicular traffic on a walkway, that doesn't make sense at all anywhere. So how does that fall into the gaps of what you talk about legally around this horseshoe?
Mr. Sachs, do you want to come back and do your 1 minute of general public comment, sir?
Yeah, my 1 minute of public
Go
comment. It's wonderful how you finally moved on allowing street vending to be legalized in the city of Los Angeles. I say vote yes on the Proposition S. Even if it's a moratorium, it'll force the city to finally address the general obligation plans for building around the whole city. There is no problem per se in building. There's 10,000 apartment units on the blackboard or on the drawing board for downtown Los Angeles alone. The problem is affordable housing. There is no affordable housing. It's 4 years from start to finish for any construction to occur. So that means the adjoining item that the Board of Supervisors wants you to pass for facility help, nothing will be built for 4 years. Vote yes on S. Force the city to change and look at revising the general plan for building.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Herman, can you sit down? Sergeants, can you help me show Mr. Herman his seat? Mr. City Clerk, I want to note that Mr. Englander is a no on item 22.
Very good, Madam President.
Thank you. Let's move on to Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh, you filled out cards for items 1, 28, 29, 31, 32, and 42 is a special because you can't speak on that item yet.
Right.
Go ahead, sir.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Always a pleasure to speak before you, and also the new city attorney. Always a pleasure to speak there.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, on number 1, again, you're doing an excellent job as a renter. I have nothing but praise for the way you treat us. Number 28, installation of George Segal, Hollywood Walk of Fame, and Adam Levine. I must be getting old because I don't know who Adam Levine is, but the Hollywood Walk of Fame is terrible. It's in terrible shape. So, some people put plastic turds on the stars that they don't like the president. you can't tell the difference between Donald Trump's star and the plastic turd. As far as 28 is concerned, 29 is concerned, and that leaves 31. This is Metro Plaza accepting a grant, street vending at Westlake MacArthur Park Metro Plaza. You just legalized it, but you're sweeping all of the people. It's $15,000 to get rid of people who are street vending on MacArthur Park, and that leaves 32, and 32 is Crenshaw Outdoor Music Project. It's excellent. I don't need all the time. I don't squeeze every second out. You can just wipe the minute and 15 seconds out, and I'll go to public comment.
I appreciate you, Mr. Walsh. Go ahead and give him his 1 minute of public comment.
1 minute. I'm telling you right now, in the street, and I've been here since '66, the race relations in the street are horrible. A family, a black family moves into Ramona Gardens, and the gangs burn them out, and the cops just stand there, and the fire department stands there and does nothing. If you're black, you are not welcome in East LA or Boyle Heights, and you're risking your life and safety if you walk in those neighborhoods. Conversely, if you're Hispanic, you're always welcome in black neighborhoods. But if your skin is brown, I can walk in any of these neighborhoods. They harass you. They're all afraid of your black skin in their neighborhood. And I'm telling you, this whole city, it's the blacks versus the browns, the yellows, and the whites. That's what's happening in this city.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Next speaker is Wayne Spindler. Mr. Spindler, you are speaking on items 1, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and you filled out a card for special item 42, which you can't speak on now, but go ahead on the rest.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Let's begin with the big business. The defendant in the city of Los Angeles, Mathis Dawson, on 1A, 666 West 69th Street. We call it the Satan Amendment, $3,523 lien. Right now, these people are elderly and they cannot afford to pay this. They are going to lose their home. So, as a puppet, I said, can you reduce it to $50? Because honestly, that's about all they could make and pay. They can't pay nothing more. So, right now, they're trying to talk to a very nice man back there. So I hope that this shit gets resolved. Mathis Dawson, waive the lien. These are good people. They're constituents. And they're Latino. And you need the Latino vote because you can't win without it in CD88. So now we get to lots of bullshit. And as a puppet, I know the kind of bullshit going on right now. Like, for example, you really don't have a quorum.
We should move back on topic.
Yes, I know. They pay you good money to say the stupid shit that you say. So we have economic reports and bids. We have all types of taxes. We have more liens. And we have things like sidewalk and driving on sidewalks that doesn't pertain to my life. See, I'm a puppet. I have fur. And you discriminate against those with fur.
Again, I think we veered off topic.
And I'm black.
Mr. Wayne knows better. Come on. Can you stick to the items, please?
I mean, yeah, that's. I'm just trying to regurgitate the bullshit.
Again,
on the
we are
schedule.
off topic, Madam
And
President.
I'm just trying to talk. Oh, I heard a disruption potential back there. That's okay. I know him. Now we got this project in CD1 regarding the street vendors on Westlake. There's so many vendors. You could choose from all the vendors. You know the problem? The people that pay property taxes and mortar and brick stores can't fucking survive there. So yes, I agree you should let them vend. Waive all property taxes in CD1 forever. Because I own a property there too. Well, he does. And you're fucking us in the ass with the quality of life.
You have your 1 minute of general public comment.
And tonight is the night. Join me in Woodland Hills. Join me at the Hilton and Canoga Avenue in Woodland Hills tonight at 5:30 till 9, and tomorrow night at 5:30 to 9, because I'm going to introduce the world to the criminal Mitchell Englander. I'm going to introduce the world how his wife never paid the goddamn fees on her animals. I'm going to introduce the fact that while people are fucking dying of gas, this motherfucker took 9 months and $1.6 million to run for a
You're not supposed to direct
council.
comments directly to a council member.
He took it for a council seat. He ran for a council seat and didn't address Aliso. He let these people down. He's a fucking war criminal.
You are not allowed to address
He's
a
war
certain council
criminal.
member.
And you're
Mr. Spindler.
also a war criminal, and you're going to be indicted when the grand jury comes back, Nuri. Nuri Grand Jury 2017.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne Spindler. Thank you very much. Good day to you, too. Sean? Great to see you, Sean. How are you? Hold on for just a second, Sean. Let me tell you what you are speaking on.
I'm trying to get used to that damn kiosk.
Yeah, hold on for just a second, Sean. You filled out cards for items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Go ahead.
I'm only going to speak on a couple of them. Item 1 is the rent escrow accounts. My management do a good job on the rents. I don't mind paying the rents. I'm going to go to general public comment. Sorry to be like that towards you, but
Sean, hold on for just a second. Let me get the clock. You have 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to be like that towards you. When I come to these meetings, I expect you to run this
Sean,
meeting.
hold on. Hold his time. Sergeants, are you not watching? Mr. Spindler continues to get out of his seat. You've got Herman putting his hands in the air. Can we please direct some attention to make sure our audience behaves while we have a person on the mic? Thank you. Go ahead, Sean.
Jose, I had a good time at the night on Broadway. Thank you. When I come to these meetings, I expect the meeting to be run in order, not let the people disrupt this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Okay. Let's go ahead, members, and vote on items 2 through 9. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, those items pass. Okay, let's vote on items 28 through 32. Those items are before us, members. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, those items pass. Let's go to item. Mr. Englander?
Yeah, on that item, can we, I'd ask that we send it urgent forthwith?
Which item?
On 42?
No, 42, we have not gone to our special meeting yet.
But if you could put it down,
Thank you.
because it's going to require another vote for that as well.
Okay, great, thanks. We're going to move on to item number 10, and we have one card on item 10. Janice Ross Hawes. Janice Ross Hawes. Is there anyone by that name for item number 10? Janice Ross Hawes. There is no one here by that name. Mr. Clerk, can you please note that? I have no more cards on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Item passes. We're going to move on to item 1A.
Madam President, if I may, there's been a request from the department to continue 1A to February 21st.
Okay, there's been a request to continue that item to February 22nd, 21st or 22nd?
21st, ma'am.
There are 3 cards on this item, so I'm going to go ahead and call the names. Moreno E. Do you want to speak on item 1A? You want to come to the mic? Sergeants, can you please help this man come to the mic, please? Or take the microphone to him if it's easier. We can have our translator.
Buenos días.
Sí, yo quiero que me ayuden, por favor. Yo no puedo pagar esto.
I'm asking for your help, please. I am not able to pay this amount.
Yo agarro $800 por mes y vivo mi esposa y yo.
I only earn $800 a month, and that's the amount that we use to survive, my wife and I.
Yo nunca había recibido ni una carta de estas hasta que me mandaron una registrada a mi casa, porque yo no vivo en la casa, viven mis parientes.
I had never received a letter regarding this situation until they sent a registered letter to my other house, because I don't live in this address. My relatives live at this address.
Señor, le hemos continuado este asunto a la fecha 21 de febrero. Se le hemos continuado. Si quiere hablar con la representante de ese concilio, lo pueden hablar con usted. Pero hemos continuado este asunto al 21 de febrero.
Si quiere hablar con la representante del distrito donde usted vive.
I'm just advising him there is a request to continue this item to February 21st.
Ajá, porque yo vivo hasta 4 horas de aquí, me acaban de operar de la espalda. Y pues tengo mi rodilla también recién operada.
I live about 4 hours away from here. I just had back surgery, and I also have problems with my knee.
Ok, pero su asunto se lo hemos continuado. Si quiere hablar con un representante del departamento, aquí está el señor Charles que le puede ayudar. ¿Ok?
Ok, está bien. Okay, está bien.
Ok, gracias.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Señor, ¿usted es José Moreno?
Sí.
Ok, ya habló. Oscar Mohammed, on item 1A. Maybe it would help if we can get someone from Council District 8 to also speak to them. Not sure if anyone's here from the floor. Mr. Mohammed, you filled out a card for item 1A. Did you want to speak on this item, or is it a general public comment?
I would like to speak on it for a minute, but you run.
No, we're going to start the clock again.
You start. Okay.
This is regarding a lien. It's item 1A.
But lien on, public lien is something like reverse mortgage. You get equity for the money in your house, for the money in your house, but your monthly mortgage might triple. But liens should not be come from government on houses that is occupied. We should go to the Constitution that governs us. That's all I have to say about the liens, though.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mohammed.
Could I have public comment?
No, you haven't filled out a card for public comment. If you want to do...
I have filled out a card for public comment.
Sir, I don't have a card for you on general public comment. It's not coming up yet. Hold on for just a second. Give me a second. There you are. just popped up. Go ahead. 1 minute for general public comment. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, the state of Pennsylvania was founded by a black man named William Penn, but the oppressors add to and they take from. And William Penn said that the people must be governed by God if don't transfer with rule. Tuskegee Institute was founded by Dr. Booker T. Washington, and Tuskegee Institute is like no other school in America. To enter Tuskegee Institute, you have to have honors from high school and to stay on the dean list while at Tuskegee Institute. And Tuskegee Institute had the only college that ever had an aviation program. But we should end the homeless on Skid Row. We need patrol down on Skid Row where they'll call the suicide zone. We need more affordable housing and jobs. We need more affordable housing and jobs. President John F. Kennedy said that Martin Luther King was wrong. The late Imam Waris D. Muhammad said that Dr. Carl G. Woodson is the best encyclopedia for black history.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Let's move on to item 1H. Michael Exakhar, are you here? Michael Exakhar?
Hi, good morning.
Go ahead.
I got a lien on my property, but we never got letters on it. And we did pay the fee, the $550 fee, but we never got any letter on it. And they're charging us now interest and like $2,500 interest and penalty. But the letters were being going to the wrong address for a couple of years.
Okay, we can continue your item for 2 weeks while this gets sorted out until February 15th. You can speak to Mr. Charles, who's right there at the ropes.
Mr.
Without objection?
Thank you.
That will be the order. Thank you. Let's go ahead and vote on the remaining balance of item 1. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, why don't we go ahead and recess our regular meeting and go into our special meeting? Go ahead and call the roll.
Very good, Madam President. Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Carrasco, Corcoran, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson, 10 members present. That brings us to item 42. It's an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, that item is now before us. We do have cards on item 42. Mr. Arnold Sachs, are you still here? You filled out a card for item 42, sir. Followed by Juan Acapella, if you're still here. Wayne Spindler, Eric Previn, Herman, and Mr. Walsh. Item 42.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. This Aliso Canyon fiasco, there's been so much written about it. First of all, in a lot of the hearings at the County Board of Supervisors and in some of the stories, it's been reported that Porter Ranch is a 30,000 planned home community. You need to go after the people that planned that community, that 30,000 home over the largest gas storage facility west of the Mississippi. And what is the City Council's plans to alleviate the shortage of natural gas when the other constituents throughout the county will be forced to shut their gas off or have their gas shut off because of a shortage, that the utility plants won't be able to run because the natural gas will not be available for them to use as fuel? What is the city's plan? Why are 40,000 people or 30,000 people allowed to manipulate the rest of the county? If they have a problem, let them go after the government that allowed the community to built there, and let them go after the politicians who made the money
Sir, your time
over
is
the
up.
housing
Thank you.
that was allowed to
The next speaker is Juan Acapella. Are you here? Mr. Alcala is not in the room. Wayne Spindler on item 42, followed by Eric Previn.
So, gas company meeting. 5:30, Woodland Hills, Hilton Hotel, Woodland Hills. Make sure they validate your parking because they stole your homes. The least they could do is validate your parking. So what do we want to do? We want to shut it down. Shut down Aliso Canyon. Shut it down now. Here's the problem. Mitchell Englander is bought and paid for by the gas company. That's the problem. Mitchell Englander, resign from your seat, you war criminal, you, and have your wife pay her dog license fees in the future.
Mr. Spindler, please address the entire council.
Whoop, whoop. The son of a bitch needs to resign. He's a war criminal.
Address the entire council and stick to the item. Thank you. The next speaker is Eric Previn, followed by Herman and Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Council President Martinez. It is Eric Previn from Studio City, and I am running for the office of mayor. Item 42 is your request to support Danny Stern from Shrivi from Diner, his son, who ran for office in Malibu and is now the elected representative who passed a motion to try to stop them from continuing drilling in Aliso. These guys robocalled like nobody's business in Malibu, I will say, but they got him up there, and he's going to do the business of all of the party, Eric Bauman, and all of you who are taking postcards from him coming up in this election. He's going to get, hopefully, some relief on this. Yesterday at the County Board of Supervisors, the People versus SoCal Gas, people of Southern California, it's unclear who was bringing that suit. But I will say that Mr. Englander's office, because he was very active when he was running for supervisor, then he became silent, and his constituents came down here and said, hey, where are you? And of course that was very hurtful to those people. But John Lee, his chief of staff, was wrangling up lawyers.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Next speaker is Herman, followed by Mr. Walsh. Thank you, sir.
So contemptuous, aren't we, when we talk about the Aliso Canyon gas problems? So contemptuous that we don't allow public comment to address the issue, as to just ignore what Mitch Englander has ignored, as brought up by the speaker, new to be mayor. Because such issues like this impact your community and has such an adverse impact. Isn't it simple to say, woof, 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 who let the dogs out? Because when it comes to gas leak, it's my dog that's having the headaches. It's my dog that has the bloody nose. It's my dog taking a shit on Englander, who's done nothing.
You're not
to
speaking
stop
about the item, Herman.
SB 146. And for the public record, as Madonna would say, fuck you. But no, Madonna, fuck you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Herman. Thank you so much. You have a good day. The next speaker is Mr. Walsh on item 42, sir.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems, and chair of Yes on S. This is excellent. This is the state of California getting involved. And we have SB 146. What this says, and they're asking you to take a position now. This involves resuming gas injection at the Aliso Canyon gas storage facility, and it bans any restoration of this poisonous gas. It prohibits Southern California Gas from resuming gas injection. We are 100% in favor of this. You should tell all of your everybody out there. See, this case, they were predominantly poisoning whites and Asians, but they don't give a damn. They'll poison whites and Asians just as much as blacks and Hispanics.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we have concluded cards on item 42. Let's open the roll. I'm sorry, there's one more item before I do that. Miss Antonia Ramirez? Antonia Ramirez, are you still here? Item 42.
Thank you very much. Yes, I am in agreement that We definitely need to shut down this facility. It's highly contaminated. It has gone airborne and spread not only above in the air, but also on the ground, deep in the soil. It is not worth putting a human being in that area because later on the lawsuits will be high, exceedingly high, because of the health repercussions. Furthermore, public safety. Mitchell Englander's too busy canceling all public safety committee meetings and censoring, interrupting all concerned and affected citizens who need public safety issues, and they come here to give us input. Most of us didn't know about Aliso Canyon until all the news media started coming out, and these are legitimate, true media came out. And so what happens now, again, Mitchell Englander is a true jackass. He does not concern himself with the people and the gravity of problems. Public safety does not exist in Los Angeles. He's too busy.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ramirez. Thank you. Now that concludes cards on item 42. We're actually going to take two votes. There's been a request to send this urgent forthwith, so let's take that up first. Go ahead and let's open the roll on the item. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Thank you. And there is a request to send this urgent forthwith from Mr. Englander. Let's open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Madam President, that concludes the items in today's special meeting. Would you like to adjourn the special and return to the regular?
Let's adjourn our special meeting and go back to our regular council meeting, please.
Madam President, I believe that brings us back to general public comment for items not on today's agenda.
First speaker is Denise Marlene Davis. Are you here? Denise Marlene Davis is not here for general public comment. Antonia Ramirez? Antonia Ramirez, followed by Jacqueline Richardson.
Thank you very much. Stop all funding, no more money to Los Angeles and Mayor Eric Garcetti for unlawfully advocating and implementing safe haven sanctuary cities that safely house and hide criminal fugitives and all the nosy, jealous, uncivilized, diabolical, come caca, violent, racist, hate-mongering wetbacks and chango Latino gangbanging pussies, pigs and thieves. And yes, Latino wetbacks and gangbangers are pigs and thieves and filthy savages. Cucarachas. La cucaracha, la cucaracha. Therefore, build the wall to stop these massive intrusion and stop the importation of highly contagious and lethal diseases. These 22 million undesirables are contagious. Thank you, Donald Trump, for placing the travel ban on these international and domestic terrorists and protecting first and foremost, as you promised, the American people and America. And one more thing. Gil Cedillo Wetback said today there's more idiocy coming out of Washington. Well, he's a wetback. He should be deported.
Next speaker is Ms. Jacqueline Richardson.
This is a sample official ballot from November 8th. You'll notice that it implies that there's just one day to vote. However, if you go to page 3, it'll say voting begins October the 11th and continues until November the 8th. Most people didn't see that. The third page that says you can vote continually from October the 11th until November the 8th. Who paid for that? Did City Hall pay for it? Was that in the budget? Or did they have to borrow money for it? In a way, it's not fair because some people didn't know that voting was extended because it doesn't show on the first page, but it does show on page 3. Who paid for all that ballot? And it was convenient, but most people didn't know anything about it, and that way it wasn't fair. But who paid for it?
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. The next speaker is Oduduwa Olatunji. Hope I got that correct. General public comment, sir.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Oduduwa Olatunji, and I help with the Pan-African Film Festival. We are in Councilman Price's district and Marquise Harris Dawson's district, as well as President Wesson's district, and we operate, but we're a festival for the whole entire city. And some stuff that I heard at this meeting kind of struck me. And what I wanted to say basically was thank you to the city council, because I heard that they don't do anything for the people in their community. And we have over 100,000 people that are coming down for a festival this month, February 9th through the 20th. We bus in over 35,000 LAUSD students and show them movies about all around the world. And for over 25 years, our students have gone on to work for the State Department for all over the country from the festival. And so they do something for the community. And I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, sir. That concludes cards for general public comment. Mr. Clerk, what's next?
Madam President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred members, are there any announcements? Mr. Rue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I rise today in sadness. Come on up, Alex. Everybody knows Alex Kim, right?
Where are you going, Mr.
I know, huh? There's nobody who doesn't know Alex Kim. He's at 5 places at once. And, and he's one of my best friends, and he has served as my senior advisor since day one. And he unfortunately will be having to transition off my team. I knew this day was coming. Seconded.
Maybe and you can go work for Mr. Buscaino.
Sorry. No, that's not going to happen. No. No. And I knew this day was going to happen, and I was very fortunate. I've known Alex for over close to 2 decades now. We were roommates at one time. We started he started the political his career much before I have, and he showed me the ropes. And he served as Central Area Planning Director for Mayor Hahn. He worked as Deputy Director for Community Affairs for Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then he worked for Community Relations at SoCal Gas. And when I got elected, I was so fortunate because he volunteered and he came forward to help me get my office started. And he took a tremendous pay cut. Doing it, and I knew I couldn't hold him forever. He promised me a year. He gave me almost 2. And now he has to transition off because he has to go back to Orange County, closer to home, where he will be taking part in family business as well as continually being engaged. I mean, he's sat on numerous commissions, whether it's city or state commissions. I think he currently still serves on the Governor Brown's appointee to the California Naturopathic Medicine Commission, but that's just one of the many commissions he sat on. And, he's an effective communicator. He's been my friend, advisor, my eyes and ears on the ground for the Korean and Asian American communities. I mean, he's well known up and down the state. But I can't, as a friend, I can't hold him back. But I really appreciate the years of service and helping me get started. Because you knew City Hall much better than I have, and I really appreciate everything you've done. And thank you, Alex. And of course, all members.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kim, congratulations on your future endeavors. How can you leave your best friend?
You okay? Are you texting him?
Members of the audience, can we please rise for adjourning motions?
Hey, man.
On my right, are there any adjourning motions? Any adjourning motions, members? On my right, any adjourning motions on my left? Seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. Amen. Have a good day. Thank you.
Glory, glory, glory to
Largest and oldest Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The event is put on by the Congress of Racial Equality of California. Well, if your child goes to school in North Hollywood, he or she now has a new, safer way to get there after a tragic accident inspires action. Gil Reyes shows us.
Third graders from Bellingham Elementary School in North Hollywood test out their new neighborhood sidewalk on the way to class.
Because it's not safe to walk on the street because a car can crash a little kid.
And that's what happened here on Laurel Canyon and Archwood Street 6 years ago. A car ran over and killed 12-year-old Emily Ailman as she crossed the street. The accident also left her friend, another young girl, permanently disabled. The community urged the city to build the 1,700-foot sidewalk where a dirt path used to be. Bellingham's school principal says thanks.
It's incredibly important. If you see the other side of the street where there's just a dirt path, the students were actually walking through dirt or walking directly in the street to get to school, which was extremely dangerous for them.
North Hollywood Councilman Paul Krikorian spearheaded the effort through the Safe Routes to School program, funded by city, state, and federal governments. And the sidewalk isn't just for kids.
It's bad enough if you're a third grader, but it's really bad if you're a senior, or if you're somebody with a disability, or you're somebody else who has a mobility challenge and walking on essentially a trail.
I think that they're safer now.
In North Hollywood, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The sidewalk also has 14 new access ramps for people using wheelchairs and strollers. Also, 37 new drought-tolerant trees. While a sea of demonstrators take to the streets in downtown LA to show solidarity for women's rights. A street in downtown's Fashion District is about to get a major makeover and celebrating the heroes of the Los Angeles Fire Department for their commitment to helping others. All these stories in City Beat. Observers said Women's March Los Angeles, which drew a massive crowd that filled downtown streets around Pershing Square, was the city's largest demonstration in nearly a decade. A massive crowd marched to City Hall in solidarity with the Women's March on Washington and similar events that were held in cities nationwide. The size of the crowd seemed to eclipse even the expectations of organizers, who estimated at one point that as many as 750,000 people showed up. Organizers stressed that the event was a nonpartisan and not a protest, but a celebration of human rights. The mission statement for the march read in part, "We stand together in solidarity for the protection of our rights, our safety, our health, and our families, recognizing that our vibrant and diverse communities are the strength of our country." City Councilmember Jose Huizar recently joined with other community groups for a groundbreaking on a much-needed $1.7 million streetscape improvement project on Los Angeles Street in downtown's Fashion District. With funding from Metro, the upgrade is part of Councilmember Huizar's Downtown LA Forward initiative. The plan and design was a collaboration among the Bureau of Street Services, the Board of Public Works, the Fashion District BID, and Councilmember Huizar's office. The improvements will